There are 100 million child laborers in India right now. Today I am one of them. And I want you to know about my life. Let my story be a reminder to you. Your life is good. 20% of my country's economy depends on child labor. It depends on children just like you and I. My name is Mandy, and I stand here today to tell you my story. My day starts very early, at 4 o'clock a.m. A truck picks me up and drives me to the factory. The ride is bumpy, uncomfortable, and unsafe. There are no seatbelts. No one is concerned about my safety. We arrive at the factory and my work begins. We are herded into the factory like animals and rush to begin our work. My master, he, hands me a quota for the day. I may be expected to make 100 sweatshirts in a day. I'm young. Sometimes my quotas are out of my reach. When I fail to meet my quota, Rahee punishes me severely. Sometimes an oily cloth is stuffed down my throat. I may be beaten with a rubber hose or denied food for the day. It's hardly more than a bowl of rice anyway. I cannot play outside. Many of the factory workers have lost all of their hope. They climb to the factory rooftop and jump to end their lives and their misery. They have put nets up now to stop suicides. They're not good for business. My work is never done. My quotas must be met before I can rest. I'm used to 16-hour day shifts. When there's a holiday, I sleep all day. That's all there's time for. The doors are handy. I can rest for a short time and then rush back to the factory to fill my quota. My parents were promised that I'd have a better life. I was promised food, clean water, and decent pay that could be sent home at the end of each week. How could my parents say no? There was no school to attend. We had no decent shelter and little food. We had nothing. I have learned not to trust anyone. Look what I've gotten myself into. I'm not paid well, less than $1 each day, to produce $200 gadgets and $50 sweaters. When I manage to save some rupees and earn my way home, I may not have the slum I called home to return to. Many children are abandoned in the streets. I cannot complain. I will be beaten by my master. So I'll continue to make beautiful sweatshirts for children in North America. Children like you, at private schools, like Ridley College. Children used to having decent meals every day and feeling safe and sound with their parents at night. You were lucky. The next time you use your iPad or pull on that Gap sweatshirt of yours, think of me, Mandy. A child like me may have made it. Realize that I am a child just like you. We are very different, but we are the same. So now I have helped you take that first step towards change. You are aware. What's the next step? Think twice before you buy clothes from the Gap and products from Apple, until they change their policies. Write letters to children from companies and tell them to stop. In closing, somewhere in the world, a child is being beaten over a sweatshirt. Believe it, it's happening right now to children just like us. We are very different from Mandy, but we are the same.
Do you have to share everything? Are you called somebody or not? If you answer yes to any of these questions, you are basically experiencing being a twin. Good afternoon, judges, teachers, and students. Today I'll be talking to you about what it's like to be a twin. As you may have guessed, I am a twin, and I like being a twin. Well, most of the time. And I'll tell you some things about being one. First, I'm going to tell you about twins. Second, I'm going to tell you about a saying called oldest youngest. Third, I'm going to tell you about sharing everything. Fourth, I'm going to tell you about name calling. Fifth, I'm going to tell you about switching places. And finally, I'm going to tell you about how Nicole and I never get to be alone. Here's some information on twins. Twins are two people born on the exact same day, and in this case, May 25th. Actually, the term twins comes from the ancient German words, twin or twan, meaning two together. Interesting fact about Nicole and I. We're actually Gemini. The astrology sign from May 22nd to June 21st actually means twins. Coincidence? Probably. Second, have you ever heard that old saying called oldest youngest? Well, guess which side of the bargain I got. I bet you can guess, but I'll tell you anyway. The youngest. So since I am the youngest twin and the smallest, whenever we get something new, she usually gets to pick first. And how is that fair? Just because she is 9 minutes older than me, she always takes that for granted. She thinks that she can get everything first. And whenever I say it's my turn to go first, she says, well, never mind. I don't think she'd appreciate me to say that sort of information out loud. But my least favorite thing about being a twin is sharing everything. When you're a twin, you have to share everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Who has to share clothes? And who wants to share a brush? Well, okay, most people do share clothes. But back to my point. I don't want lice. Do you want lice? And if Nicole forgets her toothbrush, things can get ugly. I even get the shoes that she's grown out of. Well, unless they're nice shoes. Then that's okay. Anyway, not fair. But sharing can be fun, depending on what it is. Like if Nicole buys a really cool new movie and she doesn't want me to watch it, I simply say, but Nick, I always share with you. And I have to admit, Nicole has shared with me. Just a couple times, like when she let me borrow her ukulele for that test the next day. Oh, and there was that time when I forgot my French homework. And when she let me study from her science book for that test. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but that doesn't matter, right? Imagine this. Your dad is waiting for you in the car, getting impatient. Nicole, hurry up! And you yell back, it's Cameron! How'd you feel being called somebody or not over and over again? Even by your own parents. Isn't that considered a betrayal? Well, that's what happens to me and Nicole all the time. And we don't even look that much alike. Mr. Smith sometimes calls me Nicole, and I've known him for over 7 years. Nicole's like 1,000,000 inches taller than me. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it feels like that when you have to look straight up to see her. We're not sure if we're identical or not, but I'm not planning to find out. I think that, if we wanted to, Nicole and I could switch places. If we wanted, not that I would try to switch places with her, but when we were older, oh, never mind. And when you're a twin, you never get any alone time. Never. It's like our heads are stuck together. We live together, we eat together, we go to school together. I mean, crossed fingers aren't even that close. And sometimes, being a twin is great. And Nicole can be annoying. She is most of the time, but she can sometimes be really nice. Like I said, sometimes. But no matter how much we fight and argue, which is a lot, I still can't picture myself without a twin. And I think that everybody should have a twin, because having a twin is like having a best friend. I hope you enjoyed my speech.
I got into the barrel, and the crowd roared with excitement. My heart was racing as fast as a cheetah, as my barrel moved slowly down the Niagara River. In a matter of seconds, I would be falling to my death. I'm a daredevil. Hello teachers, fellow classmates, and honorable judges. Today I'll be talking to you about daredevils. What's a daredevil? Basically, a daredevil is someone who engages in risky activities. Why do daredevils do life-threatening stunts if it could end up being their last time on Earth? Having read about quite a few daredevils, I've come to the conclusion that they do what they do for the money, fame, fortune, and attention they get. In the next few minutes, I will share some stories about these daredevils. Some daredevils that are very famous, including Evel Knievel and Harry Houdini, did unbelievable stunts. Because of these stunts, they became amazing figures in history. Some other daredevils that are very famous are Alain Roberti, aka the French Spider-Man, Annie Taylor, and Bobby Leach. I will discuss what these daredevils did and why they are as famous as they are today. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. I know you may be thinking my speech is switching away from daredevils to the superhero Spider-Man. Not quite. Alain Roberti, aka the French Spider-Man, is very well known for scaling high skyscrapers, mountains, and cliffs. What perhaps is even more amazing than his stunts is the fact that he is 66% disabled from his climbing accidents. This French Spider-Man doesn't seem to know when to stop. A daredevil in the olden days, Harry Houdini. He was very well known for getting out of straitjackets, even when he was hanging upside down from a flagpole. His most famous escape was the one from a Chinese water torture cell. He was born in 1874 in Hungary. He died in 1926 at the age of 52 in Detroit, Michigan, U.S. Evel Knievel, born in 1938, was a daredevil that was unbelievably famous with as many endorsements as a human could ever have. He was very well known for leaping across obstacles such as buses, trucks, and even canyons. His most famous leap was across Snake River Canyon. He has broken nearly every bone in his body, kind of like my classmate Ethan. Some daredevils who are less famous than Evel Knievel and Harry Houdini are from and performed in Niagara. Most of the stunts that they did was either going over the falls in a barrel or tightrope walking over the falls or over the whirlpool. Annie Etzen Taylor was the first woman to challenge the falls in a barrel. Mrs. Taylor was born in Auburn, New York. On 1901, her birthday, Taylor rode over the falls. She was a 46-year-old teacher in Bay City. Ironically, not all daredevils die from their stunts. For example, Bobby Leach. He went over the falls in a barrel, broke both his kneecaps and his jaw. He didn't die from that. He died from slipping on an orange peel due to complications from gangrene. Evel Knievel nearly broke every bone in his body, went over massive canyons. He didn't die from that. He died not too long ago in 2007 from idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Would I want to be a daredevil? First of all, my mom probably would not let me. I really am too young to die. I have way too much to look forward to. The benefits of being a daredevil, the money, the fame, the fortune, and attention are definitely not worth risking your life for. I believe I will be happier with taking smaller risks, such as taking an exam and not studying, or buying a car and not insurance. Risk is a 4-letter word, and I choose life, another 4-letter word, over death. Thank you.
Have you ever been asked if you would like a sandwich? When you get in trouble, do you get threatened with a kitchen utensil? Possibly a wooden spoon? Would you rather eat a cannoli than a donut? Good afternoon, honorable judges, teachers, and fellow students. Depending on how you answer these questions will determine whether or not your heritage is Italian. Usually people can tell if someone is Italian by the way a person communicates, his or her food preferences, and finally, the traditions one observes. One of the easiest ways you know someone's Italian is when you see them communicating with hand gestures. For example, my nonno often uses the wrist-bobbing hand signal for questioning someone's choices. While giving this hand signal, he would say something like, "Hey, Mark, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Are you crazy?" Their pronunciation of English words is also very different. Italians have difficult saying the th sound. If you ask them what time it is, you may hear 3:30 instead of 3:30. When I was little, I could hardly understand my nonno Walter, and I always had to ask my mom for translation. Another sure way to tell if someone is Italian is when they ask you to close the lights. This would be confusing for someone who is not Italian, but for me, it's just normal grammar. Does your family grow vegetables in a large garden in the backyard and love to eat fresh food? Mine does. When I'm with my noni and nonno, we love to make our own food from scratch. And when I say scratch, I mean scratch. One of my favorite things to make with my nonno is our own sausages. We actually cut the pork shoulder, fill the casings with a special machine, and hang the links in the shed. When we cook them, it ends up tasting really good. Italians like to know where their food comes from and what ingredients went into making their meals. One of my favorite things I like to make with my noni is our special pasta sauce. My nonno buys the tomatoes from the farm. We boil them, peel them, and then strain them until the sauce is just perfect. This social event happens in the fall, and we jar enough sauce so it's available for us all year long. Homemade spaghetti with fresh tomato sauce is an Italian favorite. In our house and my noni's house, We keep our sauce in our cantina, or as you may call it, the food cellar. In an Italian cantina, you will find many sorts of food, and they're all made from scratch. In addition to the sauce, you can find antipasto, homemade wine, and of course, melanzane. That is what Italians call cured eggplant. I know, it sounds gross. Trust me, I thought that too. But it's not. Anything that Italians make is absolutely amazing. Finally, you know you have been invited to an Italian party when you were offered a 9-course meal being served from the downstairs kitchen, and there is a lot of lively music being sung. My Nonna Delia and Nonna Walter are very passionate about their Italian singing. Parties at their house usually involve some type of karaoke where traditional Italian music is being sung and enjoyed by all of the guests. These parties got so loud that even the neighbors down the street could hear the entertainment. Embarrassing. If any of these traits sound familiar to you, you might just have a little, or a lot, of Italian heritage in your family. So if you're not Italian and you want to take a trip to the old country, just grab a tomato, stew some cannolis. Oh my gosh. Grab a cannoli, stew some tomatoes, or sing "That's Amore" as loud as you can, and you'll fit right in.
Have you ever gone on a trip with the best of intentions, but have it end up in a disaster, much like the book series, A Series of Unfortunate Events? Good afternoon, teachers, judges, and fellow classmates. My family trip to Washington, D.C. was exactly that, a series of unfortunate events. It all started with my dad going on a business trip a couple of years ago. He enjoyed it, and this past summer gave him the perfect opportunity to get the family, the RV, and go back. It began like a normal vacation. We sat around the dinner table planning the trip. I was pretty sure that a week filled with museum tours was not exactly going to be my ideal vacation, but we carried on anyway. Our first stop was just over the New York-Pennsylvania border. It was there in a rest stop that I got the pamphlet that would forever change my life. This pamphlet was for the Zippo Lighter Museum in Bradford, Pennsylvania. As soon as I got back to the RV, I showed my mom, and she said, maybe. It was then that I knew that however bad this trip went, I would always have a distant glimmer of hope of going to this museum of all museums. Eventually, we were approaching Maryland when my dad said he could feel the ground shaking. I didn't feel it because my mom was probably giving my dad fairly loud driving instructions as usual. You see, my mom is not the most pleasant driving companion because every 5 seconds she feels the need to tell you how to drive at the top of her lungs. This may seem tolerable, but in reality, the funny effect wears off after about 5 minutes. Then you're just wishing you spent the extra $50 to upgrade your headphones to noise cancellation. We finally got to our destination, Cherry Hill Park in Washington, D.C., a great camping resort. We discovered on the local news that we had driven through an earthquake, so severe that it cracked the famous Washington Monument. So severe, in fact, that it remains closed to this day. This meant we could not go to the top. This can be seen as both a positive and a negative. The negative was that we couldn't see the view from the top, and the positive, we didn't have to climb up all those stairs. This was disappointing news, but we carried on anyway. Our first full day in Washington was spent at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. It was much better than I expected. This museum had the Apollo 11, a moon rock that you can touch, and the Wright brothers' original plane. My mom and sister left early to tour art galleries. Luckily, my dad and I dodged that bullet. Day 2, we went to the Museum of American History. The highlights for me were seeing Bon Jovi's guitar, Tony Hawk's skateboard, the original Muppets, and best of all, C-3PO's original costume from Return of the Jedi. I was starting to warm up to all of this museum business. The next day, we went to sightsee. My dad, the weather genius, had us on a 10-mile trek in the middle of summer on a blazing hot day. This was uncomfortable, to say the least. We first got to see the Washington Monument, or as I call it, the giant stone with a crack in it. This was closed off, and police officers were patrolling the area. Next, we walked to the reflecting pool. But wait, that was also under construction. Not only was there no water in this so-called pool, but it was filled with ugly mud. As we walked out to the Lincoln Memorial and looked out, we could see the caution tape and the dirt. What a pretty sight. When we returned to the campground, people started to talk about the hurricane. It turns out that Washington was right in Irene's path. This was the turn of events. My dad and I voted to stay in the RV. We wanted to see if we could get tipped over. My mom and sister voted to evacuate. Somehow, my dad and I lost the vote, so we made plans to go home. We left at 5:30 the next morning, and once I woke up, I knew it was time to seize the moment. I told my mom that it was only a slight detour to go to Bradford and see the Zippo Lighter Museum, and we did. Throughout this museum, you could see the history of Zippo lighters, how they are made, and of course, the entire lineup of commercially available Zippo lighters. Zippos have a rich history and have actually saved lives. I selected the armor-brushed chrome Zippo, and I still have it today. I've learned from this trip that a series of unfortunate events can still lead to a memorable experience. Despite relentless heat, earthquakes, and hurricanes, I actually look forward to returning to Washington. Maybe we can get chased out by a tidal wave or a tornado next time.
Bob Proctor once said, "A mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see within yourself and helps bring it out of you." Good afternoon, judges, teachers, students, and guests. My name is Gracie Lowe's, and my speech topic today is on someone who has changed my life and inspired me. I wrote my speech in the month of January, and though some people think of January as the month of Chinese New Year's or Capricorns, January is National Mentor Month. It's a time when we should thank the people who have guided us to the route that we're on. She was born 1963, July 31st. A fiery-haired and spirited girl was named Robin. She was born in Toronto, and her parents, Patricia and Oliver, instantaneously fell in love with her, and so did anyone else that met her. She had no siblings, and due to the fact that she had such a small family and she moved around so often, she had few people to stay in contact with. Robin and her family moved to Barbados at the young age of 4. And while she was there, she lost a loved one. Her father passed away, turning her already small family into an even smaller one. A few years later, Robin and her mother moved back to Canada, and she was eventually located back in Toronto. And that's where she met her future husband, Rick Lowe's. Now, eventually, they bought a house, got married, and had kids. And due to the fact that her family was so small, once she was married, she was a Lowe's. Not only was that her last name, but the Lowe's family was her family. You may wonder where I come into play. Well, her husband Rick, or Uncle Rick to be, is my dad's sibling. So she's my Auntie Robin. You may wonder how she touched my life. Well, it's something about her free spirit and the fact she did whatever made her happy. Even when she was going through tough times, she did what made her feel best. And may I say that her reactions to tough times were tested. When she was 30, her mother passed away. And though it was a difficult time, it gave Robin the trait of independence and the realization that we have a short time on this earth and we need to spend it doing the things that we love. She spent the following years spending time with her family and friends. Every week, and sometimes more than that, I would go and visit her. She would always welcome me with a smile, give me a hug, and we'd go to the kitchen where we'd eat so much that it hurt. She spoiled me rotten and made sure to call me whenever Camp Rock was on television. You know, I have had so many great experiences with my aunt. I I can remember whenever I go to her house, when I sat down, she would steal the socks from my feet. And if I wore tights, my uncle would tie the ends together. And whenever I would visit her, she'd always ask me to sing. And whenever she'd visit us, she'd always ask when we were going shopping next. Her great attitude and positive outlook on life is something I try to follow. She has guided me to the road I'm on with her great support. She's encouraged me to achieve my goals, congratulated me once I've met them, and when I fail, which we all have and will do, she's one of the first people to help me try again. Early October 2010, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. A few weeks after her diagnosis, she began chemotherapy, and a few weeks after that, her fiery red hair began to fall out. Months went by, and she lost weight rapidly. And though she looked different, she remained to be the same Aunt Robin I'd always known, and she remained to do what made her feel happy. It wasn't until the end of 2011 I realized that she was losing herself. She was too weak to walk to the bathroom, she couldn't remember my name, and she would cry because of the pain. She would use the little strength she had to throw things across the room, and when I tried to play music for her, she was in too much pain to listen, and when I tried to have a conversation with her, she was too confused to hold one. Early January, she didn't wake up for days. She laid in bed sleeping, and I'd visit her and hold her hand. The little noise she made were whines and moans of pain, and we called her family down to visit her because we believed it would be their last time. Her family all gathered around and had a chance to say goodbye, and eventually everyone left their room so that her family could have spend time with her. And during this time, she passed. Some people believe that we can't control death, but my Aunt Robin brought people together, and I know that she would not have wanted it any other way. So in conclusion, I want to thank you, Aunt Robin. You managed to teach me some of the greatest lessons I could ever learn while battling a disease that could have easily have taken the best from you from the start. I love you more than an aunt. I love you like a mother, and I love you like a friend. You are an inspiration to all, and I will miss your presence, but I will always tell your story. So as an audience, I hope you go home and you think about who your mentor is and who changed your life. Don't forget to thank them and tell them how much they mean to you. I don't think my mentor knew how thankful I was for her, and I regret that she didn't. And so some people think of January as the month of Capricorns or Chinese New Year's. January is the month I lost my open-minded, positive, partying, red-headed Auntie Robin. Thank you.
Are you kidding? They took the word gullible out of the dictionary? If you believe me or even thought of looking it up in the dictionary to check, you are officially gullible. Congratulations. Good afternoon, students, teachers, judges, and the Prime Minister! Welcome, Mr. Harper! My name is Sophia S, and today I will be introducing the topic of being gullible. I will refer to the pros and cons on how being gullible can affect your life. How people can manipulate you and lie to you, and also how being gullible can make you believe and inspire you in things that would ordinarily be impossible. Why is there no magic? Remember the books and movies you used to read when you were a kid? The Once Upon a Time, it was all about the endless fairy tale world about princesses and the superheroes who would fly around town and save everyone. Remember the dream of being just like them? Even going as far as letting a spider bite you just to see if you would get superpowers and become Spider-Woman or Spider-Man Jr.? You were believing and dreaming about the magic of this world and sometimes taking it to the extremes. Why is life not perfect? Have you ever heard of the saying, la vie en rose? It means life in pink. Everything is beautiful, fine, without war, without lies, and everyone speaks the language of truth. Well, being gullible is not exactly this. You can still deduct right from wrong, but not the truth from the lies. You're credulous, disposed to believe too readily. Why me? Texting. This efficient but horrible new method of technology has made people who are gullible the laughingstock of the school. Here's an example of a typical conversation. Who do you like, Vanessa? He texts while laughing with his friend. I don't know. Who do you like? She texts back curiously. Well, I kind of like you. He responds, high-fiving his friend. You do? Well, I kind of like you too. She quickly texts back. I was kidding. He has succeeded a dumb bet with his guy friend, making the girl feel miserable and humiliated. The next day back to school, she told me she liked me. Just look at her. Ew. And there goes your self-esteem. If I eat what? Our parents have all tricked us into eating vegetables. They have made us believe in crazy stuff like, if you eat your carrots, your eyesight will be better. I love carrots, and for a fact, I still need glasses. Eat your spinach and you'll grow big and strong. I eat lots of spinach, and look at me. I think I could use a couple more inches. An apple a day will keep the doctor away. See what I mean? They have made us believe in myths and crazy stories. Our gullibility is to blame. Why couldn't they say something like, if you eat too many carrots, your skin will turn orange? In our life, we have all been gullible. Believing you could be a princess, which I still believe could happen, having superpowers, letting yourself get tricked by a texting bet, and believing some of the crazy stuff your parents tell you. Thank you.